All right, we'll get started. Oh, there we go. See, just as I do that, then it's like,
But not embarrassing.
not embarrassing, right? So it's nothing like the hearing room when I first presented in the Capitol, that's right. So thank you for having me today. Brenda Cassellius, Commissioner of Education. I'm here with Adosh Uni to present update on the World's Best Workforce and Every Student Succeeds Act, as well as deliver to you what you requested last time, which is a list of reports. So I want to be able to leave some time at the end to be able to present that to you as well. So, the agenda and how I'm going to go through this presentation will be fairly quick so that you'll have time to ask any questions of me. I want to just briefly remind the committee about the governor's 7-point plan, highlights from the last 6 years, and things that we've been able to do together, as well as get a little bit more in depth about the requirements around World's Best Workforce and how we're trying to align that to the federal law, the Every Student Succeeds Act. In 2011, the governor appointed me as commissioner and tasked me with quickly coming up with a vision for what we would like to do in that first term. And I listened to stakeholders and school leaders, had been a school leader for 30 years, almost 30 years, and have been working to look at what would be the priorities that the governor would like to have. And what did he say in his campaign that he would like to deliver on for Minnesota children and families? And we came up with 7 key areas. The first being to fund education for the future. As you know, when the governor took office, he was facing a $5 billion deficit. We had $1.8 billion at that time owed to our public schools that had been borrowed. And the entire economy was not doing well. So he wanted to fortify and provide additional funding for education. He said, and every year he's governor, he said he would put more money on the per pupil formula, no exceptions, no excuses, and he's delivered on that promise. He also promised on better early childhood education, and this has been his one campaign for the past 6 years, is to begin to look at how can we provide earlier opportunities for children so we don't face those gaps in the later years. He also recognized the disparities that happen. Minnesota is a high-achieving state among other states. However, we know that we still have a very stubborn achievement gap that is contributing to both in-school factors and out-of-school factors, which is why I'm so excited about the governor's opportunity budget that he's presented now. It has recognition of other items and other agency budgets that support both children and families and elimination of those disparities. He also wanted to support good teaching in schools, and so he wanted to provide additional professional development, additional resources to schools, so that teachers had what they needed and felt supported in delivering an excellent education to students. And then finally, the governor talked about when he was a U.S. Senator and how he would go around schools and they didn't speak too highly about the Department of Education. And so what he wanted to do was make sure that the Department of Education was transformed into a department that had credibility and also was providing strategic support to their partner schools and school districts. And that was a high priority of his, is that he had better government, that it ran efficiently, it was high performing, and that it was highly respected within the field. So the highlights of 2011 and 2012, it was a full Republican legislature at the time. We're facing $5 billion deficits, was to increase the general education formula. We were able to do that still in a deficit position. We still continue to invest in kids, one-on-one on the formula. We began early learning scholarships. The governor stood up strong when the early learning bill died at midnight. He used his authority as governor to be able to continue his leadership and get a $4 million proposal to build on what the business community had built on around early learning scholarships. We also were able to work with Senator Olson at that time to bridge a good bipartisan effort around third grade literacy, so that districts had district literacy plans and individual learning plans and literacy aid for students scoring proficient at the third grade and growing and continuing to grow third to fourth grade. We were able to pass teacher and principal development and evaluation. We started first with the principal evaluation and then moved the next year to teacher evaluation. And we worked with teachers. Unlike a lot of my other colleagues around the states, when teacher evaluation was forced upon them by the federal government, as a state, we stood up and said that it's very important to good teaching that teachers have a yearly annual evaluation and that they're provided with fair and frequent feedback, and we worked with teachers to design that, and we really have done that without a lot of rancor. They are locally designed plans, and we provide additional supports for them through the department school support division. Also, we were able to secure a lot of federal grants during this first term, first half of the term, and state funding that was Promise Neighborhoods funding, Race to the Top funding, and we were able to begin expanding our Parent Aware program and early learning scholarships through our Race to the Top grant. There's a lot, I'm only hitting the highlights. There was a lot more that we were able to get done. 13-14, fully Democratic legislature at the time. We increased the general education formula, 1.5 and 2. We paid back the schools fully, and that was $2.8 billion, and eliminated property tax shifts. We were able to implement all-day kindergarten, which the governor likes to say 99.9% of students are now participating in. We were able to expand our early learning scholarships, ECFE, and school readiness. Those are ways to invest in early childhood in a mixed delivery system. We restored and reformed Achievement and Integration Program, which was on the was supposed to be sunsetted. This is a very important program for closing achievement gaps and providing for integrated schools across the state. Also, we were able to pass in 14 the Safe and Supportive Schools Act to ensure that we had safe and welcoming schools for all our children, and that we were giving good guidance to our school districts around anti-bullying efforts and prevention, as well as working to support our parents and our families as they try to address issues of bullying that happen to their children in our schools. We were able to pass the World's Best Workforce, which I will talk about later, which I believe is the key to closing achievement gaps in our school districts and having schools strategically plan and strategically resource their efforts and their strategies in the schools. And then finally, we started looking at special education and the growing cross-subsidy for our districts and the bottom line difficulty that school districts have in funding special education, and we were able to simplify some of the special education, change some of the formula under Dr. Melcher's guidance with stakeholders, and put in $40 million to begin to buy down that unfunded cost. The highlights from 2015-16, we had divided government in 15 and 16. We had a Democratic Senate and a Republican House. We increased to general education formula, 2 and 2 on the formula. We also did some long-term facilities maintenance for school districts across the state. It was extremely popular and helpful. We began our voluntary pre-kindergarten program, a small $25 million program that impacts 3,300 students. We expanded early learning scholarships to 11,300 students and made new investments in Head Starts. Of course, you know Head Start is our poorest families that support both the child and the mother in the achievement of their children. We also made historic investments and worked with our tribal nations around American Indian education aid. As you know, Minnesota is ranked last for graduation rates for our American Indian students, and we were able to provide additional equalization aid for our students who are attending the 4 Bureau of Indian Education schools, which also was very critical in terms of all meaning all. When we talk about providing a fair and equitable education for our students. It doesn't matter if there's just 1,000 students. Those students also deserve to have the same level of funding that all other Minnesota kids have, and this was a historic investment, and I thank this legislature for doing that. Teacher workforce funding to begin to look at our teacher supply problems and addressing those teachers and the workforce and trying to bring about more support for educators, which includes some QComp additional funding and additional funding for staff development and teacher evaluation plans. One thing I'm super proud of that the governor's leadership has been, and actually Lieutenant Governor as well, has been to work interagency. As I mentioned, there are both in-school factors and things we can do in schools to address achievement gaps, but there's a growing knowledge and body of evidence and data to suggest that the disparities are not just within our schools, but that there are disparities across all aspects of a child's life. And so we've been able to work with DHS around school-based mental health grants and working to double those. We've also made investments in home visiting out of the Department of Health budget. We've been able to work with DHS on our Parent Aware for quality early learning systems. Help Me Grow is a referral system that we've been able to invest in to be through our grant programs and through some of our special ed Part C funding to be able to have a referral service so children get access to programs much earlier and support, especially for our students who have disabilities. We've also been able to build data systems over the past several years and have worked with the Office of Higher Education and some of our university partners to have the statewide longitudinal educational data system and the early childhood learning longitudinal data system both work together and in tandem to work across agencies to provide a deeper look at why we still have some of these disparities that are impacting the outcomes for our children. And then the Children's Cabinet works with our Early Learning Council in order to provide leadership. Melvin Carter is currently leading the Children's Cabinet, and we moved the Children's Cabinet to give it more status into the governor's office, and that works with Jamie Tincher, the Chief of Staff. So that's my summary on kind of where we've been the past 6 years, and I'd like to move to the world's best workforce and go deeper into that, or I could take your questions now.
Are there any questions for the Commissioner? Senator Torres-Ray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner, I just came back actually from a meeting in Pica, Head Start in my district.
Yes.
And they presented to me some statistics about the scholarship fund that they receive and the number of children that they serve. And they received 980 applications, and they were only able to provide 110.
Oh.
So about 900 kids did not receive, but they had to apply on behalf of the parents. And as you can imagine, there was a tremendous volume of time and energy that PICA had to put into getting 1,000 parents to apply, and 900 didn't get it. So they wanted to talk to me about the bill that I'm co-authoring with Senator Nelson, that some people love and some people hate, because there is a line in there that actually takes away your power to decide about scholarship, the direction of funding for scholarships. And I wanted to hear a little bit of your opinion about, they argue very strongly that we should look into really providing funding for programs very directly, because they are overwhelmed with the process of application on behalf of parents because of the volume. So like I say, 1,000 parents that come, 900 are not eligible. So the idea that we're empowering parents by giving them this money and coming in here when 900 out of 1,000 cannot come, for them is just simply not there. And these are parents, many parents who don't speak English, many parents who don't have a computer. So this whole issue of getting the scholarship money to actually pay for a program and all of this complexity that Head Start and PICA.
Yeah.
So could you tell me a little bit about your opinion on that and how the department kind of feels about this program, this directive funding for programs like PICA that deal with so many parents?
Mr. Chair, Senator Torres-Ray, we provided additional revenue to Head Start directly also in our last big funding budget. I think it was $10 million, or it might have been $5 million over the 2 year, because I'm not sure we got it all. It was $10 million. Well, then good. So we do support direct funding to Head Start. I think that that's important. I'm a Head Start baby myself. I think most of you know that. And so I think that that's really important. I think what you're talking about is Pathway 2 scholarships. And so, I think that with the accounting of students and having to account for their applications and make sure that they're eligible, I know that that can sometimes be difficult to collect that rather than just giving that to them. But I'd be willing to work with you to make that easier. But I know that they're involved in the Pathway 2s because they needed to have a secure way of identifying and knowing that they had this money for the entire year so that they could actually plan on having the money rather than having it move around, because on Pathway 1 it follows the child. So I think that, but I'd be glad to talk with you more about it and how to lessen that burden. And I just want to clarify, was it that there was 900 who applied and they didn't qualify, or 900 who applied and there wasn't enough funding for them?
Senator Torres Ray.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, that there was not enough funding.
Yeah.
Clearly, they qualified, and they just couldn't get it because
Yeah.
there was not enough funding.
Yeah.
And if I may, Mr. Chairman, I think my question is more related to the pathway, because they clearly see that this bill is going to interfere with that process of the Pathway 2 money. Is that your understanding, too?
Commissioner, Senator Torres Ray, I'd like to try to move on here soon, but if the Commissioner could answer the question.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Senator Torres Ray, could you please ask me again?
So the bill that we are authoring right
Yep.
now, that will actually take away your authority to make this decision on scholarship money, will impede the Pathway 2 money for
Yeah.
the program, correct?
Yes, it would.
Okay. Thank
And
you. I just wanted to have a clarification on
right,
that.
I'd really caution eliminating funding that's not replaced with other funding. So especially Pathway 2, because they've had these programs for a number of years. I know that in St. Paul, they've created a whole new program with New Horizons. If they lost their Pathway 2, they'd lose their entire program. So I think that that would take a little bit more discussion and thought, and in approaches to make sure that families and children don't lose their funding.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay. So World's Best Workforce was established in 2013. School boards are to develop long-term strategic plans to reach the 5 World's Best Workforce goals. Previously, school districts make strategic plans. Some do and some don't. And there's a different level of maturation, depth, and rigor to strategic plans at schools. And they go all the way from some very simple goals or aspirational goals without very in-depth strategies attached to them, or it could be that they have goals in one area and not in all areas. So this was an attempt to really look at a results-based budgeting process for school districts, to look at key goals that we felt were milestones for children and their success that we knew school districts were already working on, but to do it in a way where we were all kind of coordinated and working on similar goals in the state so we could have similar policy objectives and similar funding priorities as we all work toward the same goals. And at that time, what we were able to determine was that really all kids should be ready for kindergarten. All third graders should read proficiently, and these were bipartisan agreements, that we should pay attention to disparities and close achievement gaps, that all students should graduate high school on time, and that they should be career and college ready and not have a need for remedial education. These were really kind of no-brainer goals that every single school was working on, but not in a very intentional way. And, Mr. Chair, that's one of the things you said about one of your reward schools today was that they were a reward school, and the principal said, because we're intentional, we're deliberate, and we believe in continuous improvement. And that is important. You have to plan where you're going to get to your destination, and you have to know how much money you have and where every dollar is spent. And that needs to be in a transparent process where your stakeholders know, so we require a hearing as well, so that all stakeholders know and can understand where their compensatory revenue is going to help poor kids do better. Where's your integration and achievement money going so that they can ensure that those dollars are going toward kids that need it within protected classes. So, what is the facilities plan? Are those equitable? Where are you going to place your preschool programs? And how are you using that money? And who's getting access? And how are the opportunities being created? All of that ought to be within their World's Best Workforce plan. The process is that the board and the superintendents adopt a comprehensive, long-term strategic plan to support teaching and learning. The plan, this plan is set in order to give to the public and to the stakeholders at the local level. They do not turn the plan into the Department of Education. This is a locally owned plan. So these World's Best Workforce strategic plans are intended to be vehicles for engagement at the local level so that the community and the stakeholders and the teachers and the parents all come together around what they want to do for children within their community. They need to publish an annual report reflecting what was happening in the previous year and what they're going to do moving forward to address any gaps or deficiencies in not meeting their goals. Again, this annual report is not submitted to us. We ask them to post it to their website. They need to hold an annual public meeting and reflect on the previous year and the plan moving forward. They need to develop a brief summary of the annual report and turn that into us. So they only turn into MDE whether they met or did not meet their goal and what they're doing to address it. It is a very short template. The first year we had them just turn in anything the way that they wanted to turn it in. It became really difficult for us to provide any kind of quality information to them. So they asked us to design, superintendents asked us to design a template and make it easier for them. We designed a template, and I think it's just a couple pages for school districts to fill out, and I'm glad we had better participation in turning in those summaries. We just have 18 school districts who have not yet turned it in, and I think just 2 charters haven't turned it in yet. So, we're getting good participation in that now as they're getting used to using their World's Best Workforce plans. The review and timeline for these expectations are around November. We give them their regional data, and we give these out regional so that they can work collaboratively across districts together, because sometimes communities blend, especially with open enrollment and families moving in and out, and superintendents have really worked well together on their World's Best Workforce plans, as well as shared professional development and sharing resources across districts in order to meet the needs of their kids. Then in December, we asked them to turn in their summary reports to us. It's this template I was just speaking about. In January, we convened the entire agency to review those summaries, and then we began to provide that feedback to the districts, and we provide a feedback to you. We give a legislative report to you, and we reported that in January on the 25th. We finish any late reviews or late submissions of the summaries and get those out in February, and then districts receive our feedback, more detailed feedback in March. What's included in those data profiles is looking at all students ready for kindergarten data. We don't yet have that data. We're hoping to be able to collect that if we are able to fund the kindergarten entry assessment, and if we are able to fund the kindergarten entry assessment, we'll be able then to provide that data to districts. We're able to provide their MCA third grade reading percent proficient and their growth from 3rd to 4th grade. Closing of achievement gaps and using whether they did or did not meet their target by 50%. We've been able to provide that to districts over the past several years. Also, their MCA data. And then all students career and college ready. We are using a grade 8 math proficient for that currently. However, they can also use their ACT data if they'd like to, and any locally determined goals, and we provide them with that data. And then did their students graduate? And so we provide the data around graduation rate, and we disaggregate all of this data by student group. We're giving you here on this slide a copy of where you can find that for your region so that you can see all the data within your community and within your school district. This is public data. We report it transparently to superintendents so that they can work together. So for instance, if I'm a superintendent in one region of the state and my colleague is the next superintendent over a few miles away, and I know that they're getting 80% of their third graders proficient, and I know that they have just one or two third grade teachers, and I'm at still 50% proficiency, I would probably pick up the phone and call up my superintendent colleague and say, can your teachers work with my teachers on our curriculum alignment, our standards alignment, and the instructions and interventions that you're using at your school district, and try to figure out what's working over there. So that's why we provide this data out in a very transparent way. We also use the Minnesota report card for our public and our public-facing report card. We also have deeper analysis that researchers and others and superintendents can sign on and get individual student data on. But we have the Minnesota report card. I hope all of you will go onto your phone, type in this rc.education.state.mn.us into your phone, and you can pull up your school and look and find a whole bunch of information on our report card. Even information from the student survey is on there, as well as licensed teachers and funding that goes to your school and their federal accountability and whether they're a reward school or a priority school. There's a lot of information that's on the Minnesota report card. This information can also be cross-tabulated with other data points to be able to look and cross-compare with schools that have similar demographics that you do. So it's a very useful tool for the public and for policymakers and for parents within a community. Let me talk briefly about the Every Student Succeeds Act. It was passed.
I'm sorry. I was just wondering if we could take some questions on World's Best Workforce. Are there any questions regarding from members on World's Best Workforce? Go ahead. Senator Eichhorn.
Mr. Chair, testifiers, thank you. I do have one question on the World's Best Workforce. The area of concern is the subdivision 9 section B that allows the commissioner to take over up to 2% of a general education revenue of a school not making sufficient progress. And that was an area of concern for me. I'm just wondering what defines sufficient progress and who decides that, and does that vary from district to district?
Mr. Chair, Senator, thank you for that question. I'm sorry, I must have not looked closely. It's something that I talk often about. It's progress toward making your goals is in the law. And let me clarify, it's not that the commissioner gets to take back the money. We're very clear in how we wrote that legislation. It's actually set aside up to 2%. It's not a definite 2%, it's up to 2%. And it's for the commissioner to work collaboratively with the school district on strategies that would help them more aggressively meet their goals. It is not intended to be in any ways a stick. It is intended to say, look, you've had 3 years to work on these goals. You've set these goals yourself with your community. Let's move ahead and provide additional technical assistance to you so that you can more aggressively meet your goals. And so that's why that's in there. It is really a state accountability system. And I believe it's essential piece of looking at how you strategically prioritize your dollars toward the kids that need it the most and toward the goals that you have set out for your community. So it's a shared ownership in how those schools will be selected. The department doesn't have the capacity to intervene with 325 school districts. We just don't. So I have been talking to superintendents about this for 3 years. And I'm sure Gary Amoroso would be glad to come up and talk about this as well as Kirk Schneider when they are very aware of this provision. We've talked about it, and I would work collaboratively with them to establish how this would go about and how the commissioner would exert her authority or his authority in forwarding this part of the law. But it's really intentional. It's intentional so that it's similar to how our regional centers are working with our highest priority schools. You work along with school districts. Remember, I was a teacher, principal, and superintendent. And I wouldn't want someone coming in and just telling me what to do. I'd want someone to come in and work with me and know what's going on in my school. So what we do with our regional centers is come in, work alongside them with a needs assessment, and really work collaboratively with them to find out where are the gaps and where are the pockets. Was it just that you said you were going to do something, but you didn't implement it well, or you wanted to do something, but you couldn't find a teacher? How can we help you to fill in those gaps and provide that technical assistance to the school or to the district? And so I hope that's the spirit in which you hear this. It's not a stick to say, I'm going to take 2% and I'm going to tell you you have to fire your teacher, you have to fire your principals, you have to, take over the school for charters or something like that. We know from the federal government that just does not work. And it's really their work. It's a school district's work and a community's work to ensure an excellent and equitable education for kids. And it's our job at the department to support school districts in that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And as a follow-up to that, if I could, has there ever been an instance where you guys have had to step in and take over a part of the budget and gotten involved in the ways you were talking about there?
Mr. Chair, Senator, it is not coming to, schools had 3 years in which, so this fall would be the first year where I could go in and exert that authority outside of federal accountability, where school districts have to set aside 20% of their title funding, and we account for that at the department because that's federal law. With the state law, this would be up to 2% of the general ed funding, and we have not exerted that authority yet. And I assume what's probably going to happen because of the lack of capacity within the department to really do broad support, it will be a range from, a letter like you're not really meeting your goals, that's a public letter to the board and to the superintendent, to where we've been working with these title schools for 8 years now, under No Child Left Behind, under our waiver, and we have not seen any improvement for many, many, many years, and everybody really knows that. And so how do we work more with our regional centers to support them in achieving their goals? Mm-hmm.
So, Commissioner, along that line, you said it's a set aside, and we have a number of 2% set asides, teacher development 2% set aside. If a school doesn't need your support, do they get their 2% back?
We never take the 2%. So it's set aside there in their budget. It's never given to the department and given back to the school. They keep it in their, it's up to the school board and the superintendent. I've told the superintendents, and just said this on a call not too long ago, come now. You know if you've been meeting your goals or not. They know. They've been at this for 3 years now. Plus they've been at it with their title schools much longer, 10 years under No Child Left Behind. Start planning now, because they already spend probably more than 2% on initiatives to improve literacy, they've got money on pre-K, they've spent additional funding on special education supports, they have a lot of support staff, educational assistants, associate educators, they've bought more counselors, they've done a lot of this work already. So I don't want the committee here to think that school districts aren't trying to address these and putting money toward the goals that they've set. I believe they are. What we're trying to do under World's Best Workforce is that they're much more intentional about getting the dollars to the kids that need it the most, and that they're intentional about the strategies that they're using for those specific kids who have for years been stuck in the gap, like English language learners. And many of our school districts have new demographic shifts happening in their school districts, and they may not, just literally not know what to do and not have the resources to hire a professional who knows English language learners instruction and pedagogy. So we could offer that support through our regional centers.
Well, thank you, Commissioner. Let me maybe rephrase the question based on your answer then a little bit. So we require the school boards and I absolutely agree with you. We've got great administrators and dedicated people who are willing to step up and serve in their local communities and make sure kids have a great education. But when we talk about the 2% set aside, then, so they must reserve that, and let me just maybe put it in a little different way and see if this clicks. And then you'll assess them a fee for the services you provide.
No?
Well, at what point does the school district have the ability to utilize the 2% without strings if they're meeting their goals and they don't require an intervention from you?
If they don't require an intervention and they have a plan and it's in their World's Best Workforce Plan and it's board adopted and they say this is how they're going to use their 2% to get the goals, then I don't see why it needs intervention from the department. It's just requiring them to set up to 2% aside in order to meet their goals more aggressively. So if their goals are showing, for instance, that black students are scoring at 37% and white students are scoring at 72% proficiency at third grade, well, they might use their literacy aid differently to buy more support staff, and then that would account for that. And so that's why that's there.
All right, well, thank you, Commissioner. And I'm asking this because I was here 4 years ago when we passed World's Best Workforce, and I had concerns along these lines when we talked about it. It hadn't really been defined at the time. But it says the commissioner, in collaboration with the identified district, may require the district to use up to 2% of its basic general ed formula per fiscal year during the approximate 3 years to implement the commissioner-specified strategies and practices. And so, to me, that doesn't sound like it's always been in their local plan and always, it sounds very directed by you and your department, and I think that's what I'm trying to wrestle with here.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, remember now, I have 2 terms that I'm serving, and most likely I'll try to go and secure another superintendency. So when we were writing this, I was thinking like a superintendent because I had been a superintendent. And I don't think any superintendent in the state wants someone coming and telling them what to do. Neither do I think a board does. But we also don't want to back off accountability. So I think we want to definitely have a good balance between accountability and also a $9 billion that we put in our schools and the expectation that children will achieve and that all children will have an equitable education. So it's a conversation, it's looking at strategies, and the key in that section is the commissioner may. It doesn't say the commissioner must. And so I think that with the spirit of the law is that you must be progressing toward your goals, 1. It doesn't say you must meet them. And that's to be locally determined in collaboration with the commissioner and the local school board. And it also says that they will work together on the remedies for that. And it could be up to 2%, whereas the staff development law that you cited earlier is 2%. It's for sure 2%. But if a district comes and let's say they're not meeting their third grade literacy goals and they're going to take in hire 2 literacy specialists, it's going to cost them $100,000, and let's say that's 1% of their budget or something, then maybe that's all that they need that year. But progressively, and this will be under also our ESSA plan, and this is where they both align, is that progressively, if they just continue to not get results, do we not want to do something and step in and support that school district and document the support that we've tried? So I think that that's where this World's Best Workforce is so important, because it's not just about strategic planning, it's also about trying the strategies, and if those don't work, trying different strategies and continuing to improve in that whole continuous improvement loop. And that's what we're trying to demonstrate and role model, and we've done that for years with our regional centers. And that's why I kept coming to this body asking for more money for regional center technical assistance, and that's why I'm coming with an agency ask this year, because schools really can use this technical assistance, and because we're working on implementation. And we think that that's the key. We think that if adults get together, they dedicate the resources the right way, and then they implement with fidelity what they said they were going to do, then kids do better.
Well, thank you, Commissioner, and I'm not going to belabor this point anymore. I think there are still concerns, and I think we got a good dialogue going. Also, maybe, when you go on to your superintendency somewhere, your predecessor may read the word may a bit differently than you do, and I hope.
And
you
then I'd get my
appreciate that.
plan in for what I was doing with my 2%, and we would negotiate that.
So, well, thank you. Are there any other
Thank you.
questions? Senator Torres-Ray? Oh, I'm sorry, I had Senator Kemp first, then Senator Torres-Ray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Commissioner, this is such a great conversation, and I'm reminded that I think it was about a year ago when you came and gave us an update on how things were going. And I know this could be an hour-long conversation, and we've already spent a lot of time on this. So I'm going to ask you to sort of give a summary snapshot. Because what I remember when you were talking about it, when you look at the 5 metrics that are in the world's best workforce, and you described what you were starting to see in terms of the steps that were being taken in our communities with our professionals who are educating our kids and what that means in our schools with our kids. It was a real sort of portrait of how this was all being implemented and how it was evolving and what it was looking like throughout the state of Minnesota. Can you maybe sort of encapsulate where we stand right now in terms of what sense you're getting of how things are going and what a difference this is making in our schools?
Mr. Chair, Senator Kent, I think that there was a lot of resistance at first, and I think it was a heavy lift for school districts at first to align everything. Because in school districts, I think we have something like 22 categorical aides. And many times you have different people and different leads working on different plans, for instance, QComp or integration, and those two people aren't talking. And what I think this does is in a mature system, and, superintendents have really begun, and school boards have begun to embrace the principles under the world's best workforce because it's provided a common frame, and it's also provided a common language for them to work regionally together. And then the data set and the data that they get is similar. So they're able to compare and look at like districts and like demographics and share more. I have seen a lot more sharing among the professionals, teachers and superintendents, and it's been wonderful. I also saw the School Boards Association this year for the first time I've seen their entire conference was around school equity. And I think that that's awesome. And I was so pleased to see that they were focusing on equity. And so I think that it allows for us to have a common language and common set of strategies that we can work around. And then they can share their interventions with each other. But the system is still maturing. It's not 100% yet. There are still some school districts where, they're just doing this because they have to. But I'd say the majority are moving toward where this is actually an actionable document that the public knows about, that the teachers can recite, and they know what the goals are, and everybody's working on the same, and they're very intentional. I think that when that happens, you have high-performing systems. Businesses work from a business strategic plan. They know where their resources are. They don't continue to do things that don't work. And that's very much documented with their stakeholders and with their boards. And this is really to emulate that and to get school districts very clear about what they're trying to do and where every dollar is being spent so that it is extremely intentional and gives the best return on investment.
Thank you. Senator Torres-Ray.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to provide a little bit of history. When I was chairing the committee, this committee, the Committee of Policy Committee, in 2010, when we were in the minority, this issue of the 2% became a question as to what do we need to do with districts that are not making progress. In 2010, you were in the majority, and the idea was that we really needed to have some kind of a measure to address that. And it was strong. And so we said, well, let's think about how this works. So we kept thinking, and Senator Nelson and I have been thinking about it, and so we came up with a 10% cut. And it was actually the commissioner who came and said, Senator Torres-Ray and Senator Nelson, punishing the districts does not get you to quality.
Right.
You need to figure out a system by which you can make progress towards this goal that you have. If carrot doesn't work, if punishment doesn't work, we need to have a system in place to get them to that place. And actually, it was the guidance of the staff, the commissioner, and the staff around this table that helped us to get to a place where we say, you are going to put that money because you're not making progress. And you have to have a consequence for not making progress to that goal. But this is your money, so we're not going to take it away from you. Just make progress. And as you make progress, you get your money back. And I hope that is understood in that 2%, because in reality, Senator, there is no consequence for not making progress. So the achievement gap exists in Minnesota, and all of these black kids and Latino kids are not making progress because it really doesn't matter. Schools get their money anyway. Schools get the same money whether this black kid is making progress or not. And some of us don't believe that that should be the case. So that's why we say there should be a consequence. And we want that consequence to be more severe. I do. I do want that consequence to be more severe. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of history as you think about how to redo, because I think that you're rethinking about how to redo this 2%. But that was the reason behind that.
Well, Senator Torres-Ray, I certainly appreciate the history. I wasn't here when we were last in the majority, and I didn't serve on your committee when this went through. So, but I did express some concern and some, because I come from a slightly different background. You know, I do come from having served on a school board for 12 years, and so I maybe take a look at it. And I'm not trying to suggest that we have anything concrete, but I think this is a dialogue that we're trying to understand. There were some questions when the bill was rolled out 4 years ago, and now as we're getting to the dawn of being able to do this this option, I think it's appropriate that we start to ask some questions again about how do we see it working now that we've had a number of years to look at the implementation, and that's the only objective in these lines of questions. So, all right, Commissioner, if you'd like to talk about Every Student Succeeds Act.
Great, thank you. The Every Student Succeeds Act generally works with our federally funded programs, our title programs. It is inherently a civil rights act. It was passed with bipartisan support in 2015 and signed into law by the President Obama, in December of 2015. We then started right away. We met with both committees in the House and the Senate. I invited them to the department and kind of went through the law and started talking about what the provisions were in the Every Student Succeeds Act. And then we, after that, started talking about stakeholder engagement and timeline and how we would begin to develop our statewide plan. We need to identify still the bottom 5% of schools. We need to then also identify high schools with grad rates below 67%. Under our waiver, we'd been working with schools, high schools that had a 65% or lower graduation rate. Also schools with any low-performing student group in it. And so that's a big change under the new Every Student Succeeds Act. We still have to test students in grades 3 through 8, which is also in our state law, and once in high school in both reading and mathematics. And we also need to test in science in grade 5, 8, and also once in high school. Although science is not used within the accountability indicators to determine that lowest 5% of schools. And then we need to design systems of support. We have an award-winning system through our regional centers of supporting our schools. And so that group has been working, that stakeholder group has been working about, are there any tweaks to that system that we can do to improve upon that system? And we've been engaging with stakeholders on issues of teacher effectiveness, which also has to be defined under the waiver. Teacher evaluation was required under federal law when you applied for the waiver. It is not required under the new federal Every Student Succeeds Act. And so, but they do require that students are not disproportionately taught by ineffective teachers. And so that means we need to define ineffective. And as you know, this body has made laws around a teacher being assigned who's on a school improvement plan, or a student being assigned to a teacher on a school improvement plan for more than 2 years. And so I think that, you know, this body has tried to address some of these, the disproportionality for the last couple of years. So we started outreach right away in 2016. We've been doing outreach for about a year and a few months now. And we've had also focus groups in particular communities. We've been out and done regional meetings across the state to provide feedback. We've done online webinars. We've had Twitter town halls. We've been trying to really blanket the stakeholder engagement to make sure that we hear from all Minnesotans. One of the things that we have found is that Minnesotans generally are really interested in providing a well-rounded, equitable education for kids. That comes out at every single meeting. They want to make sure that every kid gets kind of the same things that they got when they were a kid, like PE, and that the school has a library, and that they have art and music, and that they're offered science, and that there's enough time for civics and social studies. And so they really pushed hard on what that well-rounded piece would be in the new Every Student Succeeds Act, and how could we use that fifth indicator, that it's not just tests and growth that go into an accountability system, but what are the other levers that really support students and their outcomes for success in school? And so we've been digging deeper into that. We've pushed out our timeline now with the new administration to submit this fall. Now that the new secretary has been announced, we're not sure if there will be changes in the timeline, but we hope to have the guidance out in the next several weeks here from the U.S. Department of Ed on the direction that they want to take around ESSA. We'd like to align both of these systems. So as we talked about World's Best Workforce, so 3 years have passed in that law, and so we could intervene, and we were going to intervene and identify new schools in the fall of 17 that we would work with, the lowest 5% of schools, and those schools that were not meeting their goals under World's Best Workforce, and we were starting to think about that. But now that ESSA implementation has moved back a year, and we don't have to implement until the 18-19 year, or the 18-19 school year, we were also contemplating looking at World's Best Workforce and implementing that and aligning that at the same time. So we have a decision point to make with our stakeholders about whether we do implementation this year or next year with our new Every Student Succeeds Act. One of the feedback pieces that has come forward is that the World's Best Workforce would include all districts, and it does include all districts, but that the ESSA accountability would also include all districts. One of the reasons I believe that we still have these nagging achievement gaps is that 50%, more than 50% of our schools are not held accountable. They don't have to deliver plans, they don't have to do corrective measures, and they hold large achievement gaps within their schools among the student groups. Some schools that don't have racial diversity have diversity with poor kids, and we know that our poor kids score much lower than students who are much better off. And so this suggestion of having it aligned to the world's best workforce, the Every Student Succeeds Act, is that all districts would be held accountable. And we think we could get better results that way. So I would take any questions that you would have around the Every Student Succeeds Act, or any alignment and timeline information, or any of what I've presented today.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the commissioner? So Commissioner, I'll ask one question, and so we're looking at the 18-19 school year. What are your thoughts, presuming there's not another delay? What are your thoughts about how much change will there be? How much will the legislature need to do? How much will school districts need to do to comply with the new expectations?
Mr. Chair, you mean under the expectations for the Every Student Succeeds Act?
Yes, Commissioner.
It's hard to know what the new administration will come forward with. I know that there's been a very different shift than the previous administration, and there's been talk about block grants coming to the states and having greater flexibility, which then would mean that we have a greater responsibility, I think, and we're set up nicely for the world's best workforce to be able to demonstrate that we've actually implemented a statewide accountability system, which then could help us if they were to do something like, we're not going to collect plans. States get to decide how they're going to implement the law, so that would give us a lot more authority. There's been conversation and bills introduced in the Congress to eliminate the Department of Education. So, that if those move forward, we could see some changes. I read something today about repealing of the Common Core. If they repeal the Common Core, as you know, that's a state right, but if there's some bills that are introduced and things move fast, I'm not sure if that could impact our standards. We develop our own math standards, but we don't develop our English language arts standards. We do, and we've adopted those, but that could play into it if there were any new bills introduced that would disrupt any of that. And then there could be disruptions with funding and how funding works at the state level and federal level. So right now, we're just kind of waiting and seeing what the new administration, the new secretary sets as their priorities and how they want to move ahead. I've worked with the state chief school state officers. I have been on the board for several years now, since 2013, and the new secretary has assured us that they will continue to implement the law the way that the law is written, but the way that the planning and the stakeholder engagement is going to move forward may change.
Thank you. Any other questions? Senator Ecke.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioner. You just a little bit ago, you'd mentioned something, and I want to make sure I caught this right, and if you could help me a little more. You said more than 50% of the schools have not been held accountable in referring to making sufficient progress. Is that correct?
Mr. Chair, Senator, under the federal accountability system, that is correct.
Okay.
We have
Thank you.
about 850 Title I schools, and the federal accountability only, the interventions only applied to them under our federal accountability rules. And we have about 2,000 schools overall.
So, Commissioner.
So if you didn't receive Title I funding, then you didn't have to do interventions and corrective action plans under the No Child Left Behind Act.
I guess that was going to be my question to clarify. So the current federal accountability is the No Child Left Behind.
It is, the current is the Every Student Succeeds Act, but they've given us a transition year to develop our plans. We still have to maintain support for the Title I schools that are currently in our priority and focus and continuous improvement. So we've had to turn in plans on how we're going to continue to support them, and we've been supporting them through our regional centers of excellence. And as you know, they've been improving with that support, so that's been good. But under the Every Student Succeeds Act, they've shifted the law so that we still, in the underperforming category, the bottom 5% is still Title I schools under the ESSA law. But under targeted assistance, where there is any student group that's performing at the level of any of the schools that are identified in the bottom 5%, then they have to be provided targeted assistance under the new federal law. And all high schools, regardless of whether you receive title or not title funding, if your graduation rate is below 67%, the State Department is expected to intervene and hold you accountable.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Commissioner, I have one question. If I recall, Every Student Succeed Act requires 95% of students to take the state standards test. It's also my understanding now that we've got a number of schools falling below that 95%. Can you talk about your efforts to get the test rates up, and also, I think maybe tying back to our earlier discussion with World's Best Workforce, how can we get those test participation rates up so that we can do the accountability that you've been talking about?
Yeah. Mr. Chair, like No Child Left Behind, the new Every Student Succeeds Act does require the schools to test 95% of their students for accountability purposes. And we have seen an uptick in some schools opting out. I wouldn't say that it's like mass exodus of students not taking the test, but there are some schools where you have very few students taking the test. What we tried to do to bring that down was that under our waiver, we changed our waiver with the State Department so that if you didn't meet the 95% threshold, then you could not be eligible for celebration or reward status. So that's one change we made under our accountability system. So we have several schools that didn't have 95% attendance that are excellent schools, but because not attendance, participation, but because they didn't have the 95%, they weren't able to gain that designation. So that's how we've handled it in the past and currently. And under the new system, we're still in stakeholder engagement. We have to figure out what would be the consequences for, it's up to a state to determine what the consequences would be for that. But know that the SLA also requires that we have an opt-out form, and we design an opt-out form and have it in all languages and have it posted on our website.
And so, Commissioner, would ESSA be at the state level, district level, or the school level? At what level of accountability would ESSA be holding us and well, just us accountable in general?
Mr. Chair, it's all levels.
So, Commissioner, if the state hits, let's just say, a 98% threshold, and a district hits 95%, but one of the schools is at 85, that school as a standalone entity would be held accountable for not meeting the testing level?
Mr. Chair, no. They would be held accountable in that they might lose their reward status, or they might not be eligible for reward or celebration status. That's how it is currently. But the state meets their 95%. If the state falls below their 95%, then we could be held accountable and funds could be held back at the state level.
But an individual school wouldn't lose their any portion of their Title I funds, or they wouldn't be penalized any portion of their Title I funds?
Mr. Chair, currently that is not we don't have that in our plan as a consequence. I don't know I'm not sure stakeholders would recommend that as a consequence, but we have not exerted that type of authority in the past to take away funds from school
So,
districts.
Commissioner, just to clarify, because I'm not necessarily advocating that yet either, so it wouldn't be the federal government implementing that penalty, it would be up to the state to implement some sort of remedy for that participation rate. Is that?
The way that I
am clear on
understand it,
that?
Mr. Chair, it's up to the state to determine what they do for the consequence for the 95% participation if schools fall below it. Under our waiver, what we did was we just said that you would not be eligible for the highest rating in our system.
Okay.
Oh, Mr. Chair, Way is reminding me, though, that there is a provision in the Every Student Succeeds Act that says that if you fall behind, every student then is counted as non-proficient.
Okay.
Can I clarify?
Yep.
Mr. Chair, just to clarify, so.
State your name for the record,
Wayne
please.
Nguyen, Assistant Commissioner of the Department of Education. So we essentially get 5% as a freebie. And then if we were to, say, have a school would have 90% participation, the 5% under the 95%, that 5% would be considered not proficient. So it does negatively impact a school
Okay, thank you.
And student, right?
and student groups.
And student on their transcript.
Okay, Senator Clausen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Commissioner, I believe the opting out is occurring at the secondary level for the most part, number-wise. Is that correct?
Mr. Chair, Senator Clausen, mostly, but there has been in certain areas some increase in elementary as well. But it's not as pronounced. We can certainly get you the data on opt-out and which schools are opting out and where it's happening.
Senator Clausen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a follow-up, Commissioner. I think one of the reasons at the high school level is that most students don't see a relevance in taking this.
Yeah.
And we've often talked about using a nationally normed assessment that colleges use for entrance, and I just appreciate your comments on that and where perhaps the department is leaning on that issue.
Commissioner.
Senator Pratt, Senator Clausen. So this has been a hard one for me because I've fought hard for the ACT and for every kid to take it because it's really about equity. We had kids in rural Minnesota that didn't have anywhere ACT regional site near them. We know that when kids take the test in their home school that they do better. And we know that the fee to pay for that was a barrier for a lot of our kids that couldn't afford to pay the fee. So we really worked hard around that career and college readiness piece and making sure that students all had access and opportunity to taking the ACT. So that's still a strong value because Minnesota higher education institutions still use that as a measure and a tool for getting kids in. And now the MnSCU system uses that as a way to say, if you've scored this on the ACT, you no longer have to, you won't be put in remedial courses. That was a huge win several years ago. Now with the state tests, though, and here's where it's challenging. With the state tests, we know that they're actually better aligned to college readiness. And we also know that students, like my own son who has difficulty focusing, can have accommodations for our special ed kids on our state tests. They also can take as much time as they need, so there's not as much anxiety for them. And then last year, we were able to pass a bill in the higher ed committee that said that if you score proficient, or if you have a college and career ready score on the state test, that MnSCU system could not put you in developmental ed courses. That's huge. That saves our kids tons of money, gives them hope. It's fully aligned to our standards, whereas the ACT is not fully aligned to our standards. So it's hard for, it's really been hard because I don't want kids to have to take duplicative tests. But I also don't want them to take a test that's not going to help them in the future with college and remedial, and having to be placed in remedial education, or not having the opportunity to have as much time as they can on the exam. So I'm still so tied with that. I mean, it's still really a challenging one for me to make a recommendation because there's still so much value in the state tests. And we know they're predictive of college success, more so than the ACT, but the higher ed institution's still using the ACT. So it's hard for me to figure out how do we have teachers embrace the state tests and the ACT, but so I'm still working it out, and I'm looking for stakeholder feedback to help me better make a decision on that and have a good policy recommendation for you. That's just my complete, honest opinion. I'm just so, as a former high school principal, I don't want my kids taking all the tests. I mean, but what I know now about our studies that we've done on our state tests, they're pretty good. And they line to our standards. So it's been hard. It's been a hard one for me.
Senator Clausen, one more follow-up?
Just a quick follow-up. So, Commissioner, would you say alignment is the biggest issue that we're dealing with that question that I asked?
Yes, if, Mr. Chair, Senator Clausen, if we were currently the way that the administration guidance works on assessment, and I don't know if that would change under the new federal administration, we're still required to meet all of our state standards. And even by state law, we need to meet by all of our state standards in our assessments. And the ACT is not fully aligned to all our standards, which means then we'd give the ACT, and if we went to ACT, we'd still have to give some other test to test the full breadth of our standards. So we'd have to make it longer. And if we made it longer, then that would be problematic if it wasn't its own test, because if we make it longer, then kids don't do as well when they have to continue to focus for long periods of time, and their score would then reflect that, and they're competing with kids across the entire nation who took a shorter test.
Just one last comment. As a former high school principal, I struggled with that. Should we be preparing our students through our instruction to pass the ACT, because 95% of my kids went on to college?
Yeah.
Or do we prepare them for an MCA that does not really have an impact on their future? So, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Senator Clausen. Senator Kent.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and this is just a comment, for the context of this, because I think we're all in the same boat trying to unknot this, but, it's also in the context of our high school students taking AP tests and IB tests and a whole bunch of
Absolutely.
other things. And, they have so many tests, something has to give at some point,
Yeah.
so. just
I
a
have
thought.
2 high schoolers, a sophomore and a junior, and they're taking a lot of tests.
Well, Senator Kent was with me in a meeting earlier today where we talked about some of the standards and the rigorous standards that Minnesota has.
Yes.
And particularly in math, where the commissioner shared with us other states are adopting our math standards. And maybe we have a little bit more to do on reading and language arts. So I think it's a good conversation for us to build upon and launch over these next few years. So with that, Commissioner, do you want to go through or one of your staff want to go through the
that's right, yeah.
reporting deck?
Yes, so, Mr. Chair, we have provided for you the required reports for districts and charters, and we put these in different categories. We're not coming with a recommendation today. We still believe that some of these need more thought because they're either tied to the way that we generate revenue, or they're tied to data analytics that people say they'd like to have. And so we wanted to present this to the committee to give you a chance to just kind of look at how many reports we require from our school districts, and how do we eliminate some of those or simplify some of those through technology or better efficient systems of collecting that information. For instance, we can collect more information maybe in our MARS system, our student information system, or maybe we could collect more information on our school improvement side or something, or in World's Best Workforce, and design technology systems that get this information through other methods than districts having to compile a whole report separate. So I'd love to work with this body about that. So you can see that there's 62 reports here. I don't know that you want me to go through every single one of them for time.
don't.
But they range from reports on, district's progress in reducing the use of restrictive procedures, which I'm sure is really a meaty issue, to the Achievement Integration Program, which is already written into the World's Best Workforce, and maybe that gets somehow combined, to adult basic education, AP/IB courses, PSEO courses. So we collect a lot of this information. What I would ask from you, Mr. Chair, is that there's some time spent on looking at the usefulness of these reports. How often are they used to help inform policy or to inform practice for school districts or their World's Best Workforce plans? Or they're tied to funding? Is there another way to use technology to better collect that data? And getting kind of our fiscal staff together around that, and our IT staff. So I'm willing to work with this body to eliminate as many of these reports as we possibly can. And the ones where we think they're still really useful, we just had a big release on our teacher supply and demand report. Maybe that's a useful report that we use regularly to look at how many teachers we have in our classrooms. And are there some that are duplicative and we could combine them and simplify them?
Well, thank you, Commissioner, and I appreciate, I appreciate your willingness to partner on this. As I'm sure our stakeholders behind you are equally appreciative of the effort.
Are they nodding?
Yes, they are. Both the left and the right side of the room, I should say.
That's good.
So, are there any questions? Senator Clausen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The other thing that's missing from this is all the school district time
Yes.
to provide the data
Yes.
for you to make the report.
Well, I'd have to ask them for a report
Right.
on how much time that they were,
Yeah, could you get on that?
or surveys, right? I mean, we have, these are formalized reports in law, and Senator Dams was getting at this last year. But I think there's also a lot of surveys that go out, and school districts spend a lot of time completing surveys.
Well, Commissioner, I would encourage stakeholders to contact my office or the Commissioner's office on some of these reports. Certainly if we can't eliminate, and I know there's a constituency for every report that's on this list.
Right.
Or it wouldn't be on this list. I noticed that there are quite a few that seem somewhat redundant, and maybe there's a way to combine the purpose of the reporting so it can be done more efficiently, more effectively, and with less time consumed. Ultimately, I think we're getting around to a point that you made earlier. The idea is to be accountable to our public, accountable to the legislature that funds, accountable to the executive branch who's working on the administration and helping to set policy. But we also agree that we want to give our teachers in local school districts the ability to actually spend some time with kids and not write state-required reports.
Absolutely.
Are there any other questions for the Commissioner? Well, thank you, Commissioner, for your time. It's been a great conversation. Is there any other business that needs to come before the committee? All right, seeing none, we'll stand adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you again.